Just let me know, Tasha, when you
Hang in.
No,
But let's unlock the meeting.
unlock the meeting and nobody's in the waiting room.
Nobody is-
I think just Tim was out there because
All right, we now are back in open session. Thank you, everyone, for the accommodation of the closed session. We will move on to item number 5, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. We have none. And then we move on to item number 6, educational presentation and committee discussion. We have item 6A, NACO Legislative Conference Report, and we have 2 attendees that may offer part of the report. We have Supervisor Boots and Vice Chair McEwen, who attended, I also attended the Ledge Conference, but in a capacity for WCA's representation. So, Supervisor Boots.
I'm going to start because that way Supervisor McEwen can just say ditto. No? Smile? I guess I'll start off with just in Supervisor Sandy with the continuing education. So the biggest thing with NACO is we're in NACO because of education. The same reason we're in WCA, education. So understand, if anyone at any time go on www.naco.org. There's a lot of things at your fingertips. I think maybe what we should do, and we're talking about onboarding, is looking at the County Explorer. Basically everything that's in here times 100 is on that Explorer. You can go between any county in this great United States and see what everyone else is doing, from their population to opioid deaths to everything you want to find out. That's under County Explorer. There's webinars you can go on there, drop down and you go under webinars. With that being said, Kurt said I had 10 to 15 minutes. I want to keep it like 5 minutes because, we've been in a long meeting. So when we go to NACO, typically, and I'm sure both Craig and Kurt will say the same thing, typically there's something that's on the forefront of what they're talking about. It was opioids for a few years. In my mind, and Craig will correct me if I'm wrong, so I think in my mind, the things that I saw both at RAC and some of the breakout sessions we went to, the big things that the counties are starting to deal with this year and the things that they're seeing is behavioral health and drug addiction post-COVID-19. What's happening with the health crisis and the drug addiction after all these people being indoors, not being in work-related things like that. That was number one. Workforce development. I think we're seeing that here. We're seeing it, and I'm seeing it in my job. I'm sure everyone else sees it in their job. Getting recruiting qualified personnel is very hard. We just talked about it. About us even returning as a county. ARPA funds. ARPA was a huge thing at the NACO convention, where ARPA is, and to what we were talking with the broadband earlier, and I kind of waited to mention anything because when I sat through one of the ARPA breakout sessions, the woman speaking on this subject said, don't look at the ARPA funds of what you can use it for, but what you can't use it for, because there's not very many things you can't use it for. So it's like a half a page, this is what you can't use it for. And she's like, that's what you really need to study, not the rest, because you can use it for a lot of things. I'd like to, certain things when I was head of the Health and Human Services was we got into more in the opioid. What I'd like to start talking with Lance about, and I started talking with him early about, is workforce development. I think one of the best breakout sessions I went into, and Craig, I don't think you were in that one was on that workforce development one. The panel was kids. I figured they're not kids, but they're all under 28 years of age, and listening to them talking about how they recruit people now. If you look at Amazon, if you look at all of these tech companies, they're not looking for kids in colleges or coming out of colleges. They're looking for them in high school. They're doing their own apprenticeship type things. And that's what some of these counties are starting to do, and some of these municipalities are starting to look at kids in high school already, like, what do you want to do? You go and do they had a fair today at East, a job fair at Wausau East, and it was a couple colleges in there, but for the most part, it was people saying, you can come work for us, and we'll put you through school.
I was there all day.
Yeah. We'll put you through school, and all you're gonna have to do is work for us for a couple years after you're done going to school, and you don't have to pay for school. I mean, these are some of the things that we're gonna have to look at as a county if we want to train quality personnel, because it's a struggle even for the private entities. So that's the major things I saw at the conference. Every year you learn something. Like I said, those were the things I think that were the mainstays this year. COVID-19 wasn't as big as a factor. You know, you're coming off the post-COVID things, but that's kind of and we did find a cheap burger joint by the last day. Otherwise it was, what was it, Craig? Craig had the most expensive burger I ever heard, $38, and with the fries it was how much, 41? And a drink, $41. So.
Thank you. At the NACO conference, I've gone to several of these, and Supervisor Boots covered a lot of the main topics that were discussed there. But I do get a lot more information sitting down with other supervisors when we're either at these workshops, or I had the opportunity to meet several when I was eating my $41 hamburger, that you can just talk to them about things that they do in their county, and you know, it's just interesting to get the different perspectives. But we're all dealing with the same thing. It was, you know, the COVID, getting over the COVID, the issues with ARPA dollars, and you know, it was so, you know, we are one, you know, the counties, there's basically not a lot of difference. There are some, you know, territorial things that are different with different counties, but I guess I did have the opportunity to attend the Capitol, did a Capitol Hill visit with a couple people from other counties, and we had an opportunity to meet with Congressman Grothman, Gallagher, and Tiffany. Now, it wasn't them in person, it was their staff. We had probably a 20-minute discussion in their offices. Then we also met with Senator Ron Johnson, who was able to talk to us in person. There were two topics that we were asked to ask these different policymakers to support for the counties, and the first one was to support a $250 million in federal funding for the next 5 years for funding county veteran service officers and increase the number of them. And the other policy issue was to actually fund the infrastructure bill that was passed. And like I said, I didn't follow that close. I didn't know that it wasn't funded. The bill's there, but there's no money attached to it. So we stressed to them that once we get some funds, that there are a lot of projects that can be done in the county. Like I said, just the ability to go to the Capitol Hill and see where these legislatures work, and I can tell you the Congress they're in the low rent part, and the Senate is definitely they have, it was like walking into, you know, the Holiday Inn, not the Express, but the Holiday Inn, and it was very, they had the difference in the offices. I was never there. I did attend several workshops. One on strengthening anti-hunger, our resources, through resources with the 2023 Farm Bill. I did not know there was a Farm Bill for 2023. The reason I thought this was one that was important is I think this is an issue that covers the nation as far as anti-hunger and the resources that people don't realize that they can utilize to help that. And I think with the current situation, I think hunger is going to be becoming a bigger problem for everybody. I did learn that the SNAP program, it was formerly known as the food stamps. I always referred to it as food stamps, so I didn't realize it was changed, but that's the SNAP program. SNAP provides nutritional assistance to 37.2 million low-income Americans. 10 states represents about 32% of participants, and they delegate SNAP administration costs to the counties, and Wisconsin is one of the 10 states that that is involved in this. In 2020, SNAP provided $32 million to help individuals remove themselves from poverty. They talked about the Farm Bill, and what the Farm Bill is the Farm Bill will be negotiating changes with the SNAP program, and it has a number of different legislative policies that they're going to try to negotiate with SNAP. And the other one was leveraging federal funding to strengthen mental health in schools. And basically what they went over were a lot of different grants that are available through the federal government for substance abuse and mental health services administration. So it was very informative. Like I said, the benefit to going to Capitol Hill, I really appreciated doing that. So, and like I said, I did get a lot of information from the staff members. So thank you.
Well, thank you, both of you. I also, like I said, have the opportunity to attend NACO, but as a WCA representative and representing all 72 counties of Wisconsin on the NACO board. I think one of the things that is so important that everyone needs to understand what hopefully we bring back is information. And we bring back information on what is best practices that are happening in all potentially 3,069 counties in the United States. The United States has 3,069 counties, boroughs, or parishes. They're called different things in different states. But as Supervisor Boots alluded to, NACO has just a tremendous amount of information that's stored on the one program that's accessible by anyone, and that's the County Explorer. If you want to understand, how many federal dollars Marathon County draws down on various programs in comparison to Lincoln County, in comparison to a county on Hawaii, you have the opportunity to utilize the County Explorer to do that. If you want to look at unemployment rates, or you want to look at various data, they have an endless amount, I shouldn't say endless, there is a tremendous amount of data on the County Explorer that you can utilize and pull up. One of the big things was the ARPA program, ARPA funding, and understanding what the final rules that go into effect April 1 mean, and what you can rely on as far as effective today. The other thing that one of the things that NACO is doing is comprising or compiling, if you will, what various counties are utilizing ARPA for, and it's amazing to see what other counties are utilizing ARPA for as far as ideas. The tools, this last year, NACO has published more pamphlets and more documentation on various programs and task force and recommendations, and they're all available to anyone. They record a lot of the sessions, the breakout sessions. If you want, you can go on there and revisit some of those breakout sessions and get some information there. As Supervisor Seiler indicated, it's a great opportunity for education for an individual. The one thing that was brought out under that NACO was instrumental in implementing was one of the rules that will become final in the ARPA legislation, and that is that every county has the opportunity to utilize up to and use a default, and the default is $10 million of their ARPA allocation is eligible under lost revenue. And what that really means is if a county receives less than 10 million in allocation, every bit of their ARPA allocation is available to be utilized under lost revenue. And that then, as Supervisor Boots indicated, means that anything that the county does, they can literally virtually do with these funds, except for the prescribed exclusions that are specifically in the legislation. And understand that 70% of the counties in the United States, so 70% of the 3,069 counties, are received less than $10 million in ARPA allocation. In fact, in the state of Wisconsin, there's very few counties that received greater than $10 million. So in essence, those dollars are utilizable by each of those counties for basically anything other than the prohibitions that are in the legislation. As was indicated, one of the things that is currently being worked on is, we've passed an infrastructure bill. However, as indicated by Vice Chair McEwen, that infrastructure bill has not been funded yet. They're talking about the Congress has passed a bill funding the government and that legislation for the rest of this year, $1.5 trillion plus, but that has not been passed yet. And that really creates some challenges because some of those programs that are in the infrastructure bill, if they're not funded relatively soon, will mean that those programs or those opportunities will not get done this year because there's just an implementation challenge as far as timing. So again, I would, and Vice Chair McEwen is correct. The Farm Bill expires in 2023, and so the 2023 Farm Bill will be one of the large pieces of legislation that will be taken up. But people need to understand that the biggest portion in funding that Farm Bill has is the SNAP program or the nutrition program that is used in literally every county in the United States. So I encourage everyone to go on to NACO's website, NACO.org, and look at the resources that we as members, Marathon County is a member of NACO, and what resources we are getting in return for those dollars of membership. So with that, unless there's any questions by the executive or by the committee, Supervisor Boots?
I would like to just say that I think both Supervisor McEwen and myself should also, with the new board, maybe go through a little bit with the NACO, just so people know what the NACO, because I mean, honestly, when you first got on the board, you turned it off. I don't know how to turn that on. There you go. Like when I first got on the board, I didn't know what WCA was. I didn't know what NACO was. And I think it's a good thing for these new board members to understand we're in these things. We pay money to be in these things. And there's a lot of resources available to them right at their fingertips, especially now with the computer age being what it is. I mean, we do everything remotely, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all the information's right there at their tips. If they have a question, they can just look it right up. I mean, that, like you said with that County Explorer, there's a lot of information on there.
Absolutely, absolutely. We will add that to the list of things to try to instill upon the new supervisors and in review for the old supervisors. Anything else? With that being said, the next meeting, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. Next committee meeting is going to be scheduled, or is scheduled for Thursday, April 14th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Same place, same time. What is the pleasure, Supervisor Longenau, with a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Oh, guys, I don't want to be here all night.
Supervisor Guild with a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We stand adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So Matt, on your workforce stuff?
Yeah.
First, awesome, because, yeah, huge, that's Joe.